2, you see here, we're going to talk about national differences in political, economic, and legal system. In part of your paper, it actually pastel analysis. This falls under that one. Pastel, remember, anybody remembers what pastel stands for? Political, economic, sociocultural, technological, environmental, and legal analysis. I talked about this one the first day. So, anyways, for your paper, as I said, all the paper that I put there, they're parts of different chapters of your book. So each week when we cover one chapter, you go back to your group and you complete that part. It's the one you remember. So what basically this chapter we're going to talk about is that different political system around the world, political systems, economic systems, and legal systems all around the world. In your paper, I don't want you to put exactly what type of political system, economic system, or legal system that your target market has. Please make sure to link it to your business. How does it impact your business? If their economic system is open, do they have tariffs? Are they corrupted? Political system is unstable. All of that, if you get into a problem in that country, how you will be sentenced, basically is based on which legal system. All of that needs to be linked to your particular business, okay? So let's start with the differences all around the world. In United System, just an example that you guys know, let's start with that one. What type of political system do we have here? Democracy, right? And economic system? Capitalism. It's an open market. We call it open market. Market system. Market economy. And the legal system? It's very good. Common law. Is that what you said? Yeah, common law. Yeah, very good. And then we're going to talk about different types of all these systems all around the world. Each of the countries that you want to expand into, they have different systems behind it, different political system, economic system, and legal system. Now, this is just the opening case.
So, open market and...
I'm going to go over that in very detail. Yeah. Right now, I just said the example of the United States. This is just an opening case moving from centrally planned socialist economy to a more capitalism system. Let me go back here before you guys get confused. Okay, let's just start with political system. If I draw a line here, can you guys see that? Okay. Let's say we have 3 types of system, for example, for political system, economic systems, and legal systems, right? And we want to talk about that all around the world. I'm going to give you an example of extreme cases. We are democratic, politically, we're democracy, we just mentioned, right? We have the other side of the spectrum is totalitarian regimes. Now, democracy means, how do we know that we're democracy? Because we vote, we elect our officials, so you go to polling stations, you vote, you elect your officials from local level all the way to federal level, right? So in totalitarian regimes, there is no such a thing, there's no voting system. We have different types of democracies and different types of totalitarian regimes. Anybody knows what type of democracy? We have 2 types of democracies and we have 4 types of totalitarian regimes. Do you guys know what type of democracies we have? What was that? We have representative democracy and we have direct democracy or pure democracy. Direct or pure, we have representative democracy. In the United States, we're practicing pure democracy. In the United States, we're practicing representative democracy because we vote, we elect our congressmen, women, senators, and they basically vote for over the bill. If there's any bill, if there is a law that needs to be passed, that's their job. So it's not direct or pure democracy. It's a representative democracy. Although we vote sometimes in the state level, we vote on some areas, right? State level. Federal level, it's just a representative democracy. We vote for them and they will choose for us for the law. Direct democracy, so US falls here basically, right? Can you guys even see this one or no?
No.
Oh no? There's no other marker here, sorry. That's all what it is. And no, I noticed it because here I can see nothing you can see here. That's why I noticed you guys might not be able to see. Sorry about that. We don't have any other markers. That's the only thing they left for me, I guess.
There's one on the floor, but it's orange.
Yes. Okay, so I can at least. You have one? Is it yours?
No, sorry.
Oh, it's yours.
I think we got everything.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Can you guys see it better?
Yeah.
Okay, so direct democracy, it's Switzerland actually. Swiss. So what they do in Swiss, people go to polling stations on the ballot, they vote for any law that needs to be changed, right? Also, the meaning of pure democracy or direct democracy is because they don't have one president. They don't believe that one person needs to basically decide for the whole nation, for the entire nation. They have 6 presidents all at once. Each year they rotate. Each year one of those represent Switzerland in international events. But the decision, it's based on the 6 people's decision, okay? So that's called pure democracy. All around the world, we have only Switzerland right now that, yeah, you guys probably have heard that one. It's not Swiss here, right? It's because that's a pure democracy over there. That's why we use the example. And of course, a lot of economic and legal situations too. Like in Swiss before 2011, you could never access the banking system. It was very safe for a lot of people who do money laundering. They can put their money in Swiss banks. Basically, it was very safe.
Okay.
So these are, yes,
Switzerland is pure or direct?
but it's same. It's same.
Both of them.
Yeah, they're same. Yeah, they're same.
It is same. Okay.
So that's basically as far as the democratic systems around the world. Most democracies are representative democracies like us. It's only Switzerland, and it comes from Roman Empire time. Yes.
So, I'm not understanding, so pure democracy means that you have a group of representatives where
No,
representative
you
democracy-
vote people, just the citizens of the country vote for any law that needs to be passed. Just the same thing that our Congress do, right? The Congress does votes for any bill like tariffs needs to be higher, abortion, whatever they're voting for, right? So this is people do. That's
So
why
you-
it says
So
direct.
you're gonna collect the votes from like thousands of people and that's how
Yeah, it's
laws
on the
are
ballot,
passed?
yeah. Every time you go on the ballot and they vote for it.
And then where here, we also do that.
We don't, our Congress does for us, right? Congress does. You don't vote for all other laws. Congress does, right?
In a federal level.
In a federal level,
In the
that's
state
right.
level.
In the
the
state level,
states
sometimes we do. Yeah, that's what I said. But we're talking about federal.
Yeah.
So in federal, we don't vote for laws. We vote for a representative. They will basically
The House.
pass the law. Exactly. Congress, House, or Senate. So, that's why we call it representative democracy. Now, totalitarian regimes are examples. First of all, totalitarian regimes are the regimes exactly opposite democracy. There is no voting system, no voting whatsoever. The other characteristic is only one party ruled, okay? So one party and they decide and no voting. Examples. One is theocratic regimes. Theocratic regimes are based on Sharia law or any religion. All the rules and regulations of the country is based on their religious system. A good example is Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. Those are basically following the theocracy. That's what it is. And it's one party, you never vote for anything. The second one is tribal. tribal is the same thing. Have you guys watched the movie Hotel Rwanda? That's the best example I can give you. One tribe takes over, massacres the other tribe. Hutu takes over, massacres Tutsi, and then if Tutsi can take over, it will be one tribe, and it's based on takeover. It's not based on voting system, right? So you take over, you're one party, you basically massacre the other tribe. It happens most of the times in sub-Saharan African countries, which are mostly based on tribes. The next one is communism. Communism, we all know what it is, right? Again, one party ruled, you don't have any voting rights, and the party that is ruled is Communist Party. Currently, which Communist Party? All of these means basically comes from central command. All the rules and regulations, everything comes from central government, one party. So they basically say dictate, and that's it. That's what we call them totalitarian. Now, currently, what is the largest communist country in the world that we have? Exactly, China. It's a communist country. Politically, they're still practicing communism, right? Economically, they've opened up. So China still is communism. North Korea is politically and economically, of course, communism. We have Cuba. We have Venezuela. They say they're not. Yeah, they're just like here. Yeah. We have Vietnam is politically one party. We have Laos is one party. So we have a couple of countries still around the world that are still one party communism. Yes. Russia is not communist anymore because they're voting. Every time they're choosing Putin, but they're voting. So they can choose the same person, but they're voting. Yeah, not anymore. It used to be until the late 1980s. So now the last one is right wing. Right wing actually came around. It was with the fear of communism. They're exactly opposite communism. Communism is left, right? Lefties. So right wing is exactly opposite. They want it to be opposite. They're almost the same thing. They just want it to be opposite. In 1930s, the start of it was in 1930s by Mussolini in Italy. What he did, he was a fascist, basically right wing or fascist, right? As a fascist system, same thing. One party, right wing, no election. The differences are, first of all, right wing are most of the times, or almost all the time, they are military regimes. So there is a commander from military, and they take over, and that's their basically government. Now, the other difference, very small difference that they have, is about their economic system. In communism, everything is owned by the government. It's a central government, land, buildings, stores, everything is owned by government. All the stores in the entire country is owned by governments. People are basically, if you see a clothing store, that's owned by government. You are the shopkeeper, this basically salesperson is the employee of government, okay? So that's how it is. In right-wing regime, you are allowed to, citizens are allowed to have established small businesses, but it has a cap. So if it passes that cap, they have to give it to government. Very small amount. Right now, Cuba started, Cuba, no way it's right-wing, right? They're communism. But just recently, they opened up, and just last, I think, 5-10 years, you can have small businesses. Interestingly enough, it has a cap. If it gets bigger, government takes over. So these are the examples of totalitarian regimes, and these are the examples of democratic regimes. All other countries fall between these two extremes. So we have too many, out of 195 countries around the world, we have all of them fall between these two. So it's not only either this or this. It could be somewhere here, right? It could have like only two parties, or two parties, but people don't vote, they just choose. There's sometimes people vote, but still they're so corrupt, they put the same, it's just voting system is there, but in reality it's totalitarianism. So all other countries fall within these two different, these two extremes. Now, The next one is economic system. Economic system, we have the two sides of the spectrums are open market or market economy, or capitalism, you guys said. Closed market or command system, which comes from central government. Open market basically means that we talked about it last time, laissez-faire, remember, right? Government hands off. Government does not have any rules or regulations, any interference, any intervention in business environment, okay? That's here, 100% open market, right? The other extreme is 100% closed market, which is mostly communism. For example, former Soviet Union was a very good example of complete closed market, or currently North Korea is a good example of complete closed market. But again, all of the countries fall between these two. Now, United States, where does United States basically, where is United States on the slide?
In the middle.
Open market. Open market. It's open market, but it's not really 100% open market, right? So it is, here we have mixed economies, right? Such as Sweden, Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Finland, Norway, Denmark, Poland. All of these are mixed market. And we're going to talk about why they're mixed market, why this is a closed market economy like command system and open market. Remember, command system, everything is owned by government, right? Land, buildings, stored, everything, natural resources, everything. Here, the extreme open market, nothing is owned by government, right? The reason we say mixed economy here for Sweden and Finland and all those countries, Scandinavian countries, is because they're actually half and half. There are some major industries that are owned by government. For example, healthcare system. Healthcare system, education, very important ones, right? Healthcare, education, transportation, those are owned by government. But still, business environment is open enough for any small or big-sized businesses to do business in that country. Now, United States is somewhere in between, right? It's mostly here, but it's between these two. That's the U.S. We just talked about it. In late 1800, they established some rules and regulations that government should have some control over businesses. For example, we said monopoly, price fixing, price control, tariffs. We have a lot of tariffs when you bring products to the United States, import products to the United States. We still have rules and regulations. We have price floor, we have price ceiling. So all these rules and regulations makes us not to be 100% here, but a little towards the left. But, however, when it comes to natural resources and lands and buildings, that's almost 100% open. For example, natural resources in most mixed economies are owned by government. In all mixed economies are owned by government. But in the United States, we talked about it. If you find oil basically in your petroleum in your land, that's yours, right? Here it's governments, and here you don't even have a land to find anything in it, right? So when we talk about United States, it's mostly here. It's because of the land, businesses that are open, entrepreneurship is encouraged, competition is encouraged. We have good bankruptcy law. That's where you can take risks easily, and if you're bankrupt, that's fine. Loans are easier, so that's what we call it here, open market, to encourage capitalism, to encourage competition. Countries that are mostly open, they fall here. You're going to look into, when you're doing your research for your paper today, you have to look up into this one to see where are they ranking. Countries that are mostly open, the number 1 is Hong Kong, number 2 is Singapore, and number 3 is New Zealand. So these are very open. These are not 100% just like 200 years ago either, but they're the most open countries in the world. Starting, the ranking is 0 to 100. Hong Kong is 90, and I think Singapore 87, something like that. So they're the most open that we have currently right now. If your country market, basically, target market is among these, your business is much easier. There are different charts, you're gonna look into it. Doing business in, or open markets. I'm gonna show you guys, we have it. I've posted a lot of links on your discussion board. Have you guys seen that? All those links under announcements? You're gonna use all of those links. Look here. Please look at the announcements, that's very important. Here, additional links. All of these are very helpful. For example, economic freedom, you're gonna use this one. Heritage Foundation, that's a very good one. Trade freedom. Those all help to see where is the ranking of the market. And doing business in, I don't know. Anyways, doing business in is also very important because it gives you days. It's based on days. How long it takes for a business, for investors, foreign investors, to get into a country and start their business. When you go there, you have to register. You have to look for a building, setting up a landline for phone, electricity, all of those, license for your business, all of that, right? How long does it take? It starts with 7 days. The lowest one goes all the way to 6 months, 1 year. So as an investor, you don't want to put your money on hold 6 months or 1 year to see looking for license, right? So doing business in, there is a list. You look into that one too. It's very helpful. And the next one, legal system. There are 3 types of major legal system in the world. The first one that we're practicing is what law? Common law, right? Civil law and theocratic law. Theocratic societies all practice theocratic law. Now, when you enter into another market, you have to know their legal systems, otherwise you're going to get in trouble big time. Theocratic laws, for something that here you might be doing freely, you might get into jail in theocratic nations for 10 years, right? So you have to be very careful, and unless you are a diplomat, you cannot get out of jail free, right? So you're gonna stay there. If you're a diplomat, that's a different story. You have diplomatic immunity, immunity. But not if you're just a business owner or a citizen. So, regular citizen. So that's as far as theocratic law. The difference between civil societies, civil laws, and common law. Common law, all the countries that used to be UK or British Empire colonies, including UK, they're practicing common law. That's why we're practicing common law. All the countries that used to be French colonies, they're practicing civil law. Comes from Napoleon Bonaparte, and this one comes from the Roman Empire time. Now, the difference between these two. Civil law is a written coded law. There is a book, it's a written law, it goes back to code number whatever, right? You look into it, and you can give the verdict. That's it. Common law, it's based on common sense. That's why we have 12 people as juries, and we have a lot of attorneys and need a lot of attorneys because they need to be there to interpret the law for those juries, okay? So we don't have a set of written coded law to go back and see, and the verdict will be the same exactly for everybody who has committed the same violation, right? You can interpret it for those 12 juries. It comes from common sense. Now, one of the reasons they say that we chose common sense is because they believe you cannot buy 12 people. It's easier to buy, for corrupt countries, it's easier to buy one person, which is the judge, but it's very difficult to buy 12 people. So that's one of the benefits behind it. But let me tell you this. In common law, there is no written coded law, so when you commit a crime, basically they go either to precedented law, just like you guys have seen probably Amber Law, Megan Law, all that, right? Why it has a name? Because there is not a coded written law. When it happens, you always see that they go, parents or someone goes there and they start a petition, they start something, right? Have you guys seen that? And then at the end, when it's basically done, when it's approved, now the name of the law goes, basically they put the person's name. For example, Megan versus State of California, federal, whatever it is, right? So now, if the law is exactly there, they're gonna go look into the precedent law. If it's not there, again, you'll be the first one to create the same law. And it has to be exactly the same. Otherwise, you can create your own. The problem is that all of these, because it's so open-ended, it can be interpreted. That's why we need the attorneys. I have an example myself that happened, that I saw. It was one of my students, he was a big guy, and he called me like after a couple years and said, "Hey professor, can I see you on campus?" And I thought he already graduated. I met him on campus and I was shocked. He literally lost about 200 pounds. I was shocked. So I asked him what's going on. He said, "Yeah, that's why I'm actually calling you to tell you my story. Haven't you seen the news?" And it was all over the news. I'm like, "No, you didn't search my name." I'm like, "No, I'm not going to search my student's name after they're gone for 2 or 3 years." So he told me his story, what happened. He says, apparently his wife gave money online, donated money. That's his version. The wife says, "I thought I'm donating money to a kids charity foundation in Pakistan," okay, which was not true. It was a terrorist group, right? So one night, $500 she gave apparently. I don't know how much he said $500. One night they're home, FBI raids the house, basically whatever happens, they're both arrested. Eventually what happens is that he had wealthy parents. So he asked his parents to support the wife. They paid $60,000 to attorney. She got 5 years in federal prison. The accomplice, she did exactly the same thing. She got 15 years in prison. So that was a very clear case that your attorney can play a very important, like money basically, can play a very important role in common laws because it's open to interpretation. You have to see how you interpret to those 12 people, juries. That's basic, but civil law, it has just one code of law, that's it. Okay, these are as far as the 3 different systems. Now, any question about these 3 systems? Any specific country you want to know about?
So
Okay.
the theocratic law, you said how's that?
Theocratic is based on religious laws, religious book, Sharia law.
So in different parts, are there like different rights, or is it just mainly Islam?
Right now, currently at this time, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates are practicing that, and Iran too, they're practicing that. So currently, somebody asked me to look into Vatican, I couldn't find if Vatican is practicing or not, to see if it's another religion. But basically, it's based on any religion. Currently, we have these 3 countries. Yes, you have a question? Australia, it's very, very open. It's democracy, it's open market, common law. It's the common law because it's British colony, yes.
I did have a question, and I don't mean to backtrack.
No problem.
When we're going over the political system, on tribal, you said one tribe takes over another, but is that still considered, I mean, is it democratic within the tribe, or like how does
No,
that work?
that's why we said it's totalitarian. I put that one under totalitarian regimes.
Okay.
Those are the examples of totalitarian regimes. That's why we put it here. That's why it's not election, they just take over. That's why I use the word take over here.
Totalitarian
Yeah.
regimes.
Yeah.
And
Those are examples. It's just different types, but they're all same
Totalitarian,
totalitarian.
is there a difference between totalitarian and
Theocratic?
No, authoritarian?
Authoritarian? No, it's the same thing. You come from the other. No, it's the same thing. That's well.
So theoretic.
We don't use authoritarian for democratic for political system. We just say
Okay,
authoritarian.
so theocratic, tribal, and communism are totalitarian.
Theocratic,
Tribal
tribal,
and communism.
communism, and right wing.
And right.
Are you really supposed to research to find out what type of political?
Yeah, for your country. Yeah.
Google and do our research.
That's true. Use all those links that I posted there.
So is it posted
Blackboard. Yeah. So you can use all those links and you can find, it gives you the number, it gives you definition, examples about your country. Yes.
So you said Hong Kong is #1 in the country rankings.
Hong Kong is not a country, but it's a
I'm-
region.
Oh, yeah, but it just recently got given back to like China like 10 years ago, so has that been changing?
It's not recently, it's there. A long time ago, it's been under China. That's why I said it's not a country. No, it's not changing. They have their own complete, that's why it's like, it's called Autonomous Region of China. China has a couple autonomous regions, which includes Taiwan, Hong Kong, Tibet, which they don't like it. Neither Taiwanese or Tibet or Hong Kong, none of them like it, but that's the way it is. It's autonomous region of it, yeah. It's not a country by itself, it's just a region, and it belongs to China.
This is PowerPoint and you that one?
Yes, they're all. Okay, this is just an opening case, and it talks about economic transformation in Vietnam. We talked about communist countries around the world. About 30 years ago, we had a lot of communist nations around the world, but this is an example. Vietnam is an example of transformation. A lot of countries in east side of the world, Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc of Europe, including and China, Vietnam, and Cuba here, Venezuela, they were all communism. Now they're transforming into becoming more open markets. Latin America was usually right-wing, and now they're moving 60s and 70s. They were ruled by military regimes. They were right-wings, one-party rule, no election, and right now they're also transforming to become more democratic and open markets. So since, yes, go ahead.
Where do you draw the line between what's considered a mixed market and an open market? Like in the U.S.,
Open
because-
market is very different than mixed market, because in mixed market, remember I gave you an example of like education and healthcare.